Tell me where the freaks at. Tell me where the freaks at.
And terrible army. You will sail to 1 billion worlds. You will sail until every light has been extinguished. You are strong, child, but I am beyond strength. I am the end.
He got So a couple of months ago, I made a Reddit page. Now this is mostly due to the fact that my email has become somewhat inundated with questions about anime, theories, and what ifs from you, my adoring fans. And while I love hearing about your guys' what ifs and your theories, and sometimes your anime questions, I mean, they're not always great. Unfortunately, what also goes into that same email that you're sending all of these questions, theories, and what ifs to is important business-like emails. So sometimes I'll miss the important business-like emails because I'm too busy reading your incredible what if. And thus this Reddit page, NCpedia, was created to be a catch-all for all of your what ifs, questions, and possible theories, while also acting as a place for my community to hang out and talk to each other about their theories, what ifs, and anime questions. Because if I'm being entirely real, I respond to about 1% of emails. I would love to sit back, relax, and respond to every single email. I don't have the time. And thus, if you've ever had an anime question or you want to talk about your what if, the best place that you'll probably get a response to said anime question or what if is this Reddit page. And while not everybody has heard about the Reddit page thus far, because you would have had to watch the video talking about the Reddit page previously to know about it, almost 1,000 people have already made their way to that Reddit page. Almost 1,000 people have already made this Reddit page. And while not everybody has heard about the Reddit page thus far, because you would have had to watch the video talking about the Reddit page previously to know about it, almost 1,000 people have already made their way to that Reddit page. And it has been filled to the brim with questions and theories all about Naruto. And while there is a myriad of different kinds of posts that make their way onto NCpedia, like memes, what ifs, questions, and polls, today I want to talk about a thing that we talk about on this page quite often: theories. More specifically, your theories. See, usually I'm the one making the theories about Naruto and Boruto. I take my years of experience and knowledge about this universe and use it to answer questions and give us possible fun endings to plot lines. However, while I am probably the forefront to people who do that kind of thing, I'm not the only one who does it. And in fact, the base of a lot of the theories that I espouse on this page come from the likes of you guys, which is why today I want to put a little bit of power back into your hands. Because today I want to go over and rate your theories, which means today we're heading to NCpedia and gathering 5 of your theories to talk about whether they're valid, whether they're stupid, and whether or not I believe there's actually more meat on the bone than even you realized. This is something we're going to try and do once a month. So if you've ever had a theory about Naruto or Boruto, or a question or a what if you wanted to get my opinion on, there's no better place to do that than the NCpedia page. So with that out of the way, let's get into today's video, because today we're talking rating your best Naruto theories. Before we get to rating anything, guys, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell. And we want to start another Reddit page for my other YouTube channel, The Weeb Commander, where instead of asking questions about Naruto or Boruto, you can ask me questions about all anime, or give me anime theories from any anime. So if you like the prospect of talking about any and all anime, guys, go ahead and follow my other channel, The Weeb Commander. Or if you just like the idea of hearing about all anime, go ahead and follow my anime podcast, Otaku's Anonymous, where me and Danny Mata break down everything that happened in anime this week. It's available on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Or if you just want to look like somebody who wants to talk to people about anime, then go ahead and head into my anime merch store, where you can pick up some of the greatest anime t-shirts. It's available on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Or if you just want to look like somebody who wants to talk to people about anime, then go ahead and head into my anime merch store, where you can pick up some of the greatest anime t-shirts, sweatshirts, and sticker packs known to man. I mean, come on, logistically, how much worse would they be than our current options? Known to man. I mean, come on, logistically, how much worse would they be than our current options? So, Reddit, it's a place that I don't fully understand. I've used a lot of different kinds of social media in this very long-seeming short life of mine. However, one that I never really got around to was Reddit. And I still don't really use Reddit. Reddit to me is kind of like Yahoo Answers or Quora. If I have a question and I type it into a Google search bar, usually I'll trust the answer that I source from Reddit. However, have I ever gone to reddit.com to scroll through my favorite subreddits to see who's posting today and do some up and down votes? Not even once. So the prospects of creating and moderating a Reddit that you guys can post a bunch of questions on was daunting. However, fortunately, I have a couple of technologically intelligent people around me who are able to help me understand the page I run. And while we accept all different kinds of posts on the NCpedia Reddit, specifically today we're talking about posts that at least raise a logical question as it pertains to a theory. Now, the reason I worded that so legally is because all of the things that we're going to be talking about today aren't necessarily theories in different kinds of posts on the NCpedia Reddit. Specifically today, we're talking about posts that at least raise a logical question as it pertains to a theory. Now, the reason I worded that so legally is because all of the things that we're going to be talking about today aren't necessarily theories in themselves. A couple of them are questions that were posed in the NCpedia that led me to draw my own conclusions for theories. And thus, in those circumstances, we'll be rating that person's ability to identify that question and rating the theory that comes along with the answering of said question. Got it? Good. It's a bit complicated, but it's mostly because apparently when it comes to Reddit, I'm a boomer. Hey, when it comes to YouTube, I know some things. Listen, when it really comes down to it, I just happen to be one of the very few anime YouTubers willing to show their face. You'd be surprised how far that'd get you. So now that we've gotten the rules out of the way, let's get into our first post. This post was brought to us by Indigo Drew, who asked a month ago, is the Rasengan Uzuhiko based off a Hinata jutsu? Now, along with this question, there is a GIF and a photo. And genuinely, I don't remember the name of the jutsu that Hinata's using in the GIF. See, Hinata's kind of And genuinely, I don't remember the name of the jutsu that Hinata's using in the GIF. See, Hinata is kind of the queen of anime-only Byakugan abilities. Whether it be her protecting 8 trigrams, 64 palms, or her water Senbon, Hinata's really good at making up jutsus that don't exist in the manga canon. And I think this might be one of them, but I genuinely don't know what it is. But I also don't really need to understand exactly what the jutsu is to understand what the question is asking here. The core of the question, or the core of the theory, I guess, is that the Rasengan Uzuhiko ties its powers back to Boruto's Hyuga connection. And whether that be through the medium of revolving heaven or protecting 8 trigrams, 64 palms, which is actually kind of Hinata's perfection of revolving heaven, she's able to create a dome of chakra around her that slices anything it comes into contact with. And because of the sharp nature of this chakra, the dome can't be inhibited in any way, while revolving heaven can be inhibited if you drop a bunch of things that slow it down onto it, like how Kitamaro used all the spider webs to slow down Neji. But regardless of what Hyuga that slices anything it comes into contact with. And because of the sharp nature of this chakra, the dome can't be inhibited in any way, while revolving heaven can be inhibited if you drop a bunch of things that slow it down onto it, like how Kitamaro used all the spider webs to slow down Neji. But regardless of what Hyuga ability you're tying the Rasengan Uzuhiko back to, they all have the same core question. Did Boruto figure out the Rasengan Uzuhiko because of his connection to the Hyuga? Now, this question was asked about a month ago, so Indigo Drew didn't have as much information as I currently do. And the information that I'm currently privy to is the pseudo explanation we got on how the Rasengan Uzuhiko works in the first place. However, the reason I call it a pseudo explanation is because it's not an explanation at all. See, Boruto told us that the Rasengan Uzuhiko works by utilizing the rotation of the Earth and by using the Earth's chakra, which has led people like myself to assume that he's probably talking about Senjutsu chakra, because the Earth does have chakra, and for as long as we've known about Sage Mode, we've always known that everything on Earth has chakra. However, that's nature chakra, and when you pull that nature chakra out of the Earth and combine it with your own, you get Senjutsu chakra. However, Boruto's lack of calling it Senjutsu chakra is a bit weird, which has led people to the possible conclusion that he doesn't know what Senjutsu chakra is because he was taught by Kashin Koji, who never really properly trained as a sage, or somehow Boruto was skipping the mixing with your own chakra step and is quite literally just using nature chakra. Neither of these two options are insane. However, what is insane is Kishimoto believing that that explanation of how Rasengan Uzuhiko works was enough to satiate his fan base. See, because here's the thing. While we do technically now know how Rasengan Uzuhiko works, the jury's still out as to whether or not it was influenced by his Hyuga ties at all. Because when it really boils down to it, Rasengan Uzuhiko works kind of like revolving heaven. However, instead of wasting a ton of chakra by shooting chakra out of all of your Tenketsu spots simultaneously and spinning, Boruto could possibly be spiralizing his own chakra from his Tenketsu points just in a centralized motion around his body. That is to say, think of it a bit like this. When Neji or any Hyuga clan member uses revolving heaven, they have to shoot chakra out of every single one of their 360 Tenketsu points at an incredibly high velocity, which requires a lot of chakra, which is why revolving heaven can't be used that much. Now, technically, the Hyuga clan has the ability to choose which Tenketsu point they shoot chakra from. So the real life actual best application of a revolving heaven like technique would be chakra use that much. Now, technically, the Hyuga clan has the ability to choose which Tenketsu point they shoot chakra from. So the real-life actual best application of a revolving heaven-like technique would be if, let's say, hypothetically, Neji sensed that there was a kunai coming for his chest, and so he released enough chakra from one Tenketsu point in his chest to blow that kunai away. That would take 1/360th less chakra than revolving heaven. However, it does require a fair amount of work. But another big problem with revolving heaven is the fact that you have to expend so much chakra outwards to create that dome around you. So what if instead of shooting chakra straight outward like a fire hose, you simply shot your chakra to revolve around your body in a spiral motion? And in this way, your body is surrounded with your chakra. Because here's the thing, an Abrams tank will stop a 9mm bullet, but so will a bulletproof vest. But an Abrams tank takes up way more energy. It's a definite possibility that Boruto tapped into his Hyuga clan side, possibly through the help of Sasuke, who knew Neji very well, to figure out how to spiralize his chakra around himself. Now, whether or not this has anything to do with Hinata outside of the gene she gave Boruto, we can't really say. It would probably be a Hyuga catch-all, not just Hinata. Because genuinely, I can't really see a way that Naruto figures out to master the power of the planet's rotation without the Hyuga being included somehow. Like, really, when it comes down to it, the only logical choice for how he learned Rasengan Uzuhiko is either from Sasuke or Kashin Koji. And while Kashin Koji, being a perfect sage, would help him to tap into the power of the earth, sages tap into nature chakra, not the power of a spinning globe. So it's a possibility by combining what he learned about the Hyuga from Sasuke and what he learns about sage mode from Kashin Koji, that Boruto finds himself with Rasengan Uzuhiko. But who knows? There might be some revelation down the line that, oh, Sasuke's always loved just how fast the planet is. But I think the layup of being like, oh yeah, my uncle Neji inspired me to make this technique is very easy, and everybody would like it. So I don't know why we wouldn't do that. But it wouldn't be the first time that the fan base thought of something that Kishimoto didn't think of, that the fan base was probably right about and Kishimoto was probably wrong about, in terms of things we would like. Speaking of things that the fan base would have liked, let's move on to our next theory. Now, this isn't what I would traditionally call a theory, or at least it's not what I would traditionally use as a format for a theory, because this theory is actually tagged as a meme, and that meme was provided by SmartChange6820. In this meme, we see Skeletor saying, if Sakura married Lee, then they could have had a child that could have survived the 8 gates. And then Skeletor runs away and says, until we meet again. Love the meme, love the format, love the message. But technically, the joke here is a theory. The theory being that if Sakura and Rock Lee got married and had a child, that child would have been able to survive the 8th gate. But is that the case? Well, this is actually something that we've talked about a little bit on this page, as we've talked about possible matchups between the Konoha 13 that would have made the strongest children. And while I fully admit that Sarada having the Sharingan and now the MS in the manga makes her one of the stronger people in the universe, if you were to combine the 8 gates with the 100 healings, there's a possibility that Sarada would be able to achieve a more efficient and possibly more effective style of power. See, because the problem with Boruto is that pretty much all ninjutsu has gone out the window. All of the biggest bads in Boruto can either absorb ninjutsu through their karma marks, the Rinnegan palms, or simply shrink that ninjutsu away using their dojutsu abilities. So ironically, at the strongest the Naruto universe has ever been, taijutsu has taken a massive step forward in terms of importance. So would Sarada be stronger if she had the 8 gates or the Sharingan? Well, that's largely dependent on what her MS abilities are, as I believe her MS abilities will actually play massively into the story of Boruto and saving the world. But from a straight-up power perspective, against the biggest bads in Boruto, there's a possibility that the 8 gates would make her stronger than even MS. And the possible reasoning for this is exactly what this meme is trying to say, that if Sakura and Rock Lee had a child, that child may be able to survive the 8 gates. But would it be able to? See, I've talked about this possible child a fair amount, and the general conclusion that I've came to with this child is that technically, this child wouldn't be able to survive the 8 gates. See, the way that the 8th gate works is that you need to puncture the Tenketsu spot on your heart with your own thumb or your own chakra. I guess it doesn't technically have to be your thumb, but so long as you take your chakra and you puncture your own Tenketsu point, you can cause all of the chakra in your body to flood into that heart Tenketsu point. Now, this causes your heart to beat ridiculously fast. So fast that it superheats your blood. So hot that your blood evaporates out of your skin. This is why Night Guy is red. It's Might Guy's blood of the chakra in your body to flood into that heart tenketsu point. Now this causes your heart to beat ridiculously fast. So fast that it superheats your blood. So hot that your blood evaporates out of your skin. This is why Night Guy is red. It's Might Guy's blood mist taking form. Now the reason that the 8th gate kills you is because your heart continues to beat like this until your body burns to ash. That is to say, your heart pumps so hard that eventually it turns your blood into molten lava that burns you from the inside out. So if you don't have a healing factor like Might Guy, it will eventually kill you after an insane couple of minutes of power. However, what if you did have a healing factor? What if you had Hashirama's healing factor, or mitotic regeneration, or the strength of 100? Would you be able to survive the 8th gate? Well, since we're talking about Sakura, let's talk about the Byakuya seal being used in combination with mitotic regeneration. So Tsunade claims when teaching Sakura this technique that Sakura can die up to 100 times. That is to say that the power of the Byakuya seal, or the strength of 100 seal, can power mitotic regeneration for 100 full reanimations. However, the problem is that won't stop all of the chakra in your body heading towards your heart. Well, somebody with complete mitotic regeneration and the strength of 100 seal could heal all the parts of their body that were burning from the inside out. They wouldn't be able to stop all of the chakra that their body is now pumping to their heart, and therefore they wouldn't be able to cool down. So my stance for a long time is that while this hypothetical child could use the 8th gate for 100 times longer than somebody like Might Guy, eventually once they ran out of chakra and therefore ran out of the ability to mitotically regenerate, they would die. However, this doesn't technically have to be the case, because after I made a video talking about exactly this topic, somebody brought up the incredibly good point to me that there's a possibility that this child could just rip out their heart. And by ripping out their heart, the heart would no longer be superheating their blood, and all chakra flow to the heart would obviously stop. There is one slight problem with this though. We technically never seen a user of the Byakuya seal have their heart destroyed. Sure, Sakura gets impaled by a black receiver rod. Sure, Tsunade gets cut in half. In the light novel, Sakura loses an entire arm. She gets impaled by one of Kurama's tails. Well, a Jin Cloak Kurama tail, but you get it. But in all of these circumstances, we never see the heart get destroyed. So there is technically a possibility that this 8th gate user, as they realized they were about to die, could gouge out their own heart, throw it away, and then hope it would regenerate. And that maybe would happen, but there's also the possibility that the second they pull out their heart, they're just dead. We don't really know the limits for the level of regeneration that the Byakuya seal can pull off. But considering the possibility of Sarada using her 8 gates and realizing she's running out of chakra and her body won't be able to deal with the flames that are her blood, and therefore deciding in that moment to gouge out her own heart and throw it at the enemy, hoping that her heart will regenerate so she can save her own life, would be incredible. And when you consider the fact that the alternative is death, seems like a pretty good option if you ask me. But speaking of girls being badasses, the next theory we're going to talk about is also an image. And this is actually a Boruto theory that I didn't even know existed. And it's opened my eyes to an entire subsection of theories that I now realize I have to tap into. See, this image was posted by National B 3240. And in this image, there's 6 smaller images. Now, the top images are Boruto with Momoshiki, Kawaki with Ishiki, and then in the top right, Sumire with Kaguya. And then the bottom 3 images are all the moments that these 3 received their karma markings. Which makes you ask the incredibly logical question, when did Sumire get her karma marking from Kaguya? Great question, it's fan art. Really good fan art though. And as I went a little bit deeper on this theory, I realized a lot of people believe that Sumire is connected to Kaguya. And like, she kind of is, but also definitely isn't. See, many people believe, and I believed for a long time, that Kaguya is going to return to Boruto. However, as I got more into running this page and started to do a ton of research on Naruto, i.e. reading the data books, I realized that Kaguya is not coming back. Though one of the first real videos on this page, that isn't just me being a surfing vlogger, was me saying that Kaguya is gonna return to Boruto and she's gonna help Boruto battle against Momoshiki or other Otsutsuki. And that would have been really cool. However, if you read the last data book, you'll know that the 6th past Shibaku Tensei that Naruto and Sasuke hit Kaguya with apparently killed her. See, for a long time, people believed that Kaguya was sealed in a new moon in her dimension. However, the last data book, which was released after the conclusion of Naruto's manga, stated that she died from this technique. And considering the fact that Black Setsu was more likely than not her karma marking, dimension. However, the last data book, which was released after the conclusion of Naruto's manga, stated that she died from this technique. And considering the fact that Black Zetsu was more likely than not her karma marking, there's no way that she's gonna come back. Unless, of course, she did have a karma marking on somebody else somewhere. And I guess technically that's what this theory is trying to drive at. See, the reason that people draw a connection between Kaguya and Sumire is kind of simple. The reason that connection is drawn is the Gozu Tenno. Now, the Gozu Tenno is a Fuin jutsu created by Tanuki from the root. Tanuki Shigaraki, not related to that Shigaraki. Now, this Fuinjutsu was a seal created from Hashirama's, not related to that Shigaraki. Now, this Fuinjutsu was a seal created from Hashirama's cells, because everything is created from Hashirama cells. And this seal is able to be surgically implanted onto a vessel who's compatible. And this seal, once put on somebody's body, acts as a gateway between the worlds in a separate dimension. And that separate dimension is only ever referred to as the underworld, effectively hell. And within this underworld, a great beast by the name of Nue lives. And this seal allows Nue to feed on the negative emotions and chakra of everybody around the person with the seal on them. It also grants the ability to teleport Nue so it can attack places. Now, I know what you're saying.
Nick, when does Kaguya come into any of this?
Well, Naruto was able to bring the scroll that shows how you use Gozo Tenno to Sasuke, and Sasuke, upon looking at the scroll for all of, 10 seconds, goes, it's crazy that Danzo was able to get this close to Kaguya's hidden jutsu. Now, more likely than not, Sasuke was probably referring to Kaguya's ability Amina Manaka, which allowed her to pull her and everything around her to entirely separate dimensions, as Gozo Tenno operates as a gate between dimensions. So, the connection between Sumire and Kaguya is the fact that Danzo almost copied one of her jutsus and then put that jutsu on Sumire, which is like a lot of degrees of separation between Sumire and Kaguya. So while technically it would be cool to see Sumire be relevant to the plot again, unfortunately it's probably not going to happen. Would love to see Nue back in action though. However, while that theory may not have any legs, this next theory almost definitely does. Like so many legs, I'm going to make an entirely separate video talking about this theory. You guys are actually very smart. I shouldn't have said actually. That would imply that I didn't believe you guys are smart in the first place. You are all very smart. This theory is brought to you by Sunny Delight, who says, so after watching the latest NC Hammer 23 video, I was thinking. The most recent video they were referring to is the Sasuke is the tree video. So they said, if Sasuke is alive in one of the trees after being bitten by the 10 tails, but Code took his eye to use in the superior claw grime, then that means he only has one eye, which yes, is a part of the theory that we explored, as there's only one Rinnegan currently in existence, and that Rinnegan belonged to Sasuke. So the fact that the superior claw grime had a Rinnegan leads me to the conclusion that that superior claw grime got the Rinnegan from Sasuke.
But Nick, that Rinnegan is destroyed.
Let's get into it. Sunny Delight goes on to say, if the Rinnegan regenerated after being put in the claw grime, then if Sasuke is released, he could help Boruto and Sarada kill this claw grime and maybe salvage his Rinnegan. Didn't even think about that personally. See, my theory is that Code extracted the 6-tome Rinnegan from Sasuke and put it in a claw grime, and because the claw grime is technically the 10 tails and it has a regeneration factor, it possibly could have fixed said Rinnegan, which isn't crazy when you consider the fact that the 10 tails has a Rinne Sharingan and that the 10 tails does have a regeneration factor. So not only would a claw grime, which is essentially just a 10 tails clone, have compatibility with the Rinnegan, but also the possibility of regenerating it. What I didn't think about is the fact that when you cut that claw grime down, you can get that Rinnegan, which is now fixed, back. And here's the thing, none of us like the fact that Sasuke and Naruto were nerfed. However, Kishimoto would have to be insane to keep them out of the fight forever. The real reason that Sasuke and Naruto were nerfed is so people like Boruto, Kawaki, Sarada, Mitsuki, and the rest of the Konoha, I don't know how many new of them there are, can get stronger. However, if Sasuke and Naruto are running around at full power, they're going to be dealing with all of the important fights, so Boruto, Kawaki, and the rest of the important up-and-coming cast can't get stronger. However, for the all-out final battle, you bet your bottom dollar that Sasuke and Naruto are going to be involved. And if they want to be involved at the highest level of fights that Boruto is going to dictate, they would need to be at full. And if they battle, you bet your bottom dollar can't get stronger. However, for the all-out final battle, you bet your bottom dollar that Sasuke and Naruto are going to be involved. And if they want to be involved at the highest level of fights that Boruto is going to dictate, they would need to be at full power. So if Sasuke were to retrieve this Rinnegan from the claw grime, and Naruto were to become something like the 10 tails Shinchuriki, they would be at the level of power necessary to battle against the biggest bads in the Boruto universe. That is genius. I can't believe I didn't think of that. But there's more to this theory. Sunny Delight goes goes on to say that Sasuke now has his Rinnegan back, and we know that he was able to teleport to places by following Jigen around, even when he hadn't been there himself. This is true, and not even just true for people like Sasuke. Obito was able to synchronize with Kaguya's portals to follow her. So long as you have space-time paper trails that you can follow, you can go to those dimensions, so long as you have the ability to travel between dimensions. Sunny Delight continues, and both Jigen and Ishiki summoned things from the Daikokuten while fighting him. Would this give him the ability to trace the chakra signature of Naruto and open a portal into the Daikokuten to get Naruto and Hinata back? And honestly, maybe. See, here's the thing. We understand that Sasuke's 6 Tomei Rinnegan gives him the ability to travel between dimensions. And previously, in the theory we were literally just talking about with the Gozu Tenno, Sasuke states that now that he's seen the Gozu Tenno, he'll have an easier time tracking the space-time that Kaguya came from. This theory makes double sense when you consider the fact that Kawaki is able to put himself into the Daikokuten. We've seen this in Two Blue Vortex, as one of the first things he does in Two Blue Vortex is pop into the Daikokuten to see Naruto and Hinata. So there's technically no reason for us to believe that Sasuke wouldn't be able to follow Kawaki into the Daikokuten, much in the same way that Obito was able to follow Kaguya. The Daikokuten, after all, is just a separate dimension. So if in the hypothetical situation where Sasuke is able to get his Rinnegan back, there is a possibility he could get into the Daikokuten to break Naruto and Hinata out. And Sunny Delight does something that I really like here, and that is substantiate their point. Because Sunny Delight goes on to say, I don't see why Kawaki would release the two of them, even if he was losing in a fight to Boruto, because he thinks Boruto is the biggest safety risk to them. You are absolutely right, Sunny Delight. The only reason that Kawaki would release Naruto and Hinata from the Daikokuten is if he's eradicated the world from Otsutsuki's, or if he's somehow dropped this whole I gotta kill Boruto shtick. That is to say that either Kawaki is victorious or Boruto is victorious in bringing Kawaki back to his side. But really, no matter how you paint it, that would happen at the end of the Boruto manga. Now, I technically believe we're going to be served to a Batman versus Superman kind of situation here, where Kawaki and Boruto battle against each other, one of them wins, then they realize, uh-oh, there's a bigger bad that we need to work together to defeat, and that bigger bad is Shibai. So it's a possibility that after Boruto and Kawaki battle it out and Boruto wins, that Kawaki goes on to release Naruto and Hinata from the Daikokuten. But what if we wanted to accelerate the timeline on that? So Sunny Delight goes on to say, so there has to be some way to retrieve Hinata and Naruto without Kawaki being involved, because if he dies without releasing them, then Boruto would just be risking leaving them there to be stuck forever with no way to get out. Unless, also I hadn't thought of that, if Kawaki dies and Sasuke hasn't found a way to get into the Daikokuten, then yeah, they're locked in there forever. I'm liking this Sunny Delight. Sunny Delight goes off to finish this theory with, unless I'm right about Sasuke being able to get his Rinnegan back and go to the Daikokuten without Kawaki, because I don't think Kawaki would expect this, and it would give him a false sense of safety, thinking that his hostages can't be freed without him, so he wouldn't expect Boruto to fight him with the intent to kill, giving Boruto an edge in a fight. Now this final point is a little bit shaky, but I see where you're going here. See, because yes, Kawaki does know if Boruto does kill him, then bye-bye parents. And Boruto should probably understand that if he kills Kawaki, then bye-bye parents. So yes, technically Kawaki should be under the assumption that Boruto would fight him with the intent to kill. Now, do I believe Kawaki will battle against him half-heartedly because he thinks Boruto won't try to kill him? No, mostly due to the fact that Kawaki wants Boruto dead. But the thinking is there, and I actually want to add to this theory. See, one of the head scratchers from Two Blue Vortex is the fact that Boruto's going after Sasuke, not his parents, when Boruto fully knows that his parents are locked in the Daikokuten. Now, the reason that I gave as to why Boruto would go to help Sasuke before his own parents is because there's a possibility with Sasuke being trapped in a god tree that there's a timer. Considering the fact that Naruto and Hinata are in a timeless dimension, there is no timer on when to save them. They're fine. However, this theory presents an alternative. See, this theory presents the idea that the real reason that Boruto is going after Sasuke is because Sasuke is his key to Naruto and Hinata. See, the real reason that Boruto needs to get Sasuke out of the trees so they can cut down the claw grime, get his eye back, and then backdoor into the Daikokuten without Kawaki's permission. Because Boruto may understand that killing Kawaki won't get his parents out of the Daikokuten, and there may be no reasoning with Kawaki. And therefore, the only way to save his parents is to find another entrance. Now, the craziest idea you could spin from this theory is the fact that Sasuke let himself get bit by a claw grime, so his eye would be taken and regenerated. But we're going to save that theory and all of the evidence I have to support it for its own video. Sunny Delight, great job, 10 out of 10. I just realized that's the first out of all of these theories that I've rated. Rasengan Usuko being related to a Hyuga ability, 6 out of 10, everybody's talking about it. Sakura and Lee having a child that would be immune to the 8 gates, 4 out of 10, we've been talking about it for a while. Sumire being connected to Kaguya, 7.5 out of 10 because I like the idea, but it loses points because there's no way it's gonna happen. This right here, ladies and gentlemen, this is that top shelf Zaza. And honestly, that theory is so good, I kind of want to end on that one, but our last one is a quick one. See, this last one is technically a question, but it creates a lot of theories in my head. See, the Artificer writes, realized that when Boruto and Kawaki are battling in chapter 1 of Boruto, that as we pan out and see the destruction that's been done to Konoha, we see the mountain with all the Hokage's faces. And you know whose face isn't on that mountain? Shikamaru. See, well, it's hard to make out which face is which face because they've been... We see the mountain with all the Hokage's faces. And you know whose face isn't on that mountain? Shikamaru. See, well, it's hard to make out which face is which face because they've been by and large destroyed. You can very much see that the last face on the mountain is Naruto's. Well, you might say,
Duh, Nick, they're not going to reveal that Shikamaru was the 8th Hokage. That would kind of ruin the story.
or you might say,
Well, yeah, Nick, this was 80 chapters before Shikamaru became Hokage. They probably hadn't thought of that yet.
and those are two incredibly logical and probably correct points, but there's other, more fun, less likely possible ways to answer this question. See, because here's the thing. By the time that Boruto and Kawaki have this fight, there's really no excuse for Shikamaru's head to not be up on the mountain. Everybody in Konoha in the entire world believes that Naruto is dead. Not kidnapped, not in another dimension, dead. D-E-D, dead. Which means that Shikamaru being elected as 8th Hokage isn't in a temporary role. They don't think Naruto's coming back, and therefore Shikamaru is as full of Hokage as anybody else. And the time skip was 3 whole years. Plenty of time to give Shikamaru a stone bust on the side of the mountain. And yet, nothing. And there's only really 3 ways to answer why Shikamaru's head isn't seen in this scene. And that is that his bust never went up, it's been completely destroyed to the point where it just looks like a mountain, or that Boruto and Kawaki are fighting in the past. The first 2 possibilities aren't all that interesting. You could say that Shikamaru didn't want his face on the side of the mountain, or that we just haven't had enough time to put his face on the side of the mountain because so much is going on. Or you could say that Boruto and Kawaki just did all of their fighting on Shikamaru's face because why not? And therefore any evidence of his face ever being on the side of the mountain is now just gone. Most intriguing possibility is the fact that Boruto and Kawaki are possibly fighting before Shikamaru's face ever even had a chance to go up on the side of the mountain. See, we all know that time travel is a possibility in the Boruto universe, as there is a time-traveling turtle that was introduced during the time travel arc that is technically anime canon. And a lot of people, myself included, believe that there was a possibility that Boruto could be training in the past to make sure that Ada would never find out where he was. And while Ada did openly admit in chapter 79, I believe, that she wouldn't look for him for as long as he was gone, sometimes it's best to just eliminate all possibilities of danger. So what if Boruto or Kawaki tried to pull an Oroshiki? That is to say that what if Boruto or Kawaki tried to get to each other before they reached the zenith of their power? The person that I would see doing this is Kawaki, as if Kawaki went back in time, he would know exactly where to find Boruto. And it's a possibility that Kawaki recognizes that Boruto, with the power of his Rasengan Uzuhiko, might be too powerful for him to defeat in the current timeline. And thus Kawaki has to go back in time to kill a younger version of Boruto before Shikamaru's face goes up on the mountain. However, Boruto, much of the same way that he did with Oroshiki, is able to follow Kawaki into the past, and therefore we get our fated battle. And my camera died and I can't get it to work, so you get it. They go to the past, they fight. It's a fun theory. You didn't really think about it. The idea is really good. Good observation. 7 out of 10. Now, do all the things. Like the video, so good. Go to our fated battle. And my camera died and I can't get it to work, so you get it. They go to the past, they fight. It's a fun theory. You didn't really think about it. The idea is really good. Good observation. 7 out of 10. Now, do all the things. Like the video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell. Goodbye, I guess. The beauty of a well-fleshed out and diverse power system is that there's tons of different ways to be powerful. If a universe has a narrow-minded and singular kind of way to get powerful, the show can be boring. Oh cool, your fireball is now the strongest fireball out of all the fireball's awesome. But when a show gives characters a multitude of different ways to be powerful, it allows the characters to be as unique as their powers are. And when we're talking about shonen anime, a lot of individuality comes from your powers. Shino Aburame is the way that he is because his powers are supposed to kind of make you feel icky. I mean, he quite literally has bugs in his skin. Kisame's power is supposed to be incredibly intimidating because he himself is a shark. And the list of characters' character traits being influenced by their abilities goes on. Opinions about characters are built as much on their on-screen feats and personalities as they are on their abilities. But what happens when a massive group of people shares the same ability? Well, that's the case with a lot of dojutsu, specifically the Byakugan and the Sharingan. And while unfortunately the Byakugan doesn't offer much in the way of diversity between individual users, the Sharingan absolutely does. Now, this is mostly due to the fact that the Sharingan has way Well, unfortunately, the Byakugan doesn't offer much in the way of diversity between individual users. The Sharingan absolutely does. Now, this is mostly due to the fact that the Sharingan has way more abilities tied to it than the Byakugan. See, because the Byakugan has one ability that it does really well, and that is that Byakugan wielders can see through basically anything. However, the Sharingan has a plethora of abilities that are highly tailored to the individual with the Sharingan. However, if I was going to sit here and break down the individual abilities of the Sharingan, I would say that they were Genjutsu, extrasensory perception, the ability to copy ninjutsu and physical moves, individual MS abilities, and the Susanoo. And that's just the wide overarching categories, and that's already much more than the Byakugan. But I received an email recently that asked me a rather intriguing question, and that question was, which wielder of the Sharingan is best with each of the individual abilities of the Sharingan? That is to say, that which Sharingan user is the strongest at something like Sharingan-based Genjutsu, or Perception, or the Copy ability, or which Sharingan user has the strongest Susanoo or MS abilities. And as I got to thinking about it, I realized it's a pretty diverse cast. See, because while a lot of people would sit here and say, well, Sasuke clears on every single category, that's just not true. In fact, as I was going attribute by attribute of the Sharingan, I realized every single category has a different answer. There's no repeats. And while you could make an argument for a couple of people to repeat, my gut is telling me there doesn't need to be. And that's kind of crazy. An entire universe with tons of people who use the Sharingan, and every single one of them has a different answer. There's no repeats. And while you could make an argument for a couple of people to repeat, my gut is telling me there doesn't need to be. And that's kind of crazy. An entire universe with tons of people who use the Sharingan, and every single one of them is the best at one aspect of the Sharingan. That's kind of cool. But before we get into how cool that is, guys, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell. And if you like the idea of me talking about some other cool things, guys, go ahead and follow my other channel, The Weeb Commander, where instead of talking about Naruto and Boruto, I talk all other anime. And if you like the idea of me talking about cool anime, you're gonna love my anime podcast, Otaku's Anonymous, where me and Danny Mata break down everything that happened in anime this week. It's available on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Or if you guys want to look like a cool person who watches anime, go ahead and wander into my anime merch store, where you can pick up some of the greatest anime t-shirts, sweatshirts, and sticker packs known to man. So the Sharingan, one of the most interesting powers in any anime ever. What once started as a red eye with a couple of Tomei slowly graduated into a Mangekyo Sharingan that eventually evolved into an eternal Mangekyo Sharingan that finally became a Rinnegan, and a Rinne Sharingan. The evolution of the Sharingan is truly an epic story. And that evolution didn't only come in its form, but also in the abilities it gave its users. See, in the very beginning of Naruto, the Sharingan appeared to just be a way that somebody would be able to dodge incoming attacks. That is to say that all we really knew about the Sharingan in the early days of Naruto is that it could copy movements, and it gave you extrasensory perception. And we learned that from Kakashi and Sasuke in the early days of his Sharingan development. But as time progressed and characters like Itachi, Sasuke, Kakashi, Obito, all the Uchihas began to show their MS abilities, we truly began to understand what the Sharingan was all about. And that was unrelenting power. But genuinely, the most interesting thing about the Sharingan is that it's as unique as the person using it. While at its very core, the Sharingan does grant the same abilities to anybody who has a Sharingan, and these basic abilities can be broken down into two categories, which is the Eye of Insight and the Eye of Hypnotism, with the Eye of Insight's ability granting the user the ability to track chakra, kind of like the Byakugan, but not as well, but still to the degree where they're able to see through things like smoke, trees, rocks, and even see if somebody's under the influence of Genjutsu. Second second ability of the Eye of Insight being extrasensory perception, which grants the user the ability to do things like read somebody's lips from far away, see things down to a cellular level. Yes, Sasuke's Sharingan can see things on a cellular level, track fast-moving objects that allow them to fight at incredibly high speeds or dodge incredibly high-speed attacks, or even give them access to what many believe is a future sight of sorts. The Sharingan user is able to perfectly anticipate what attack is going to come based off how muscles might be tensing in somebody's arm, giving them the ability to dodge an attack before it's been launched without actually seeing the future. On top of this, if a Sharingan wielder is able to see the hand signs of a person they're fighting against, they can anticipate what ninjutsu, genjutsu, or technique they're currently forming. However, they can truly go one step further than that. See, any technique that a Sharingan user sees somebody else use, they can also copy, so long as they have the physical ability to do it. Obviously, Sasuke watching Haku use Ice Release wouldn't teach him how to use Ice Release because it's a Kekkei Genkai he doesn't have. But there's a reason that Kakashi got his name as the Copy Ninja. Any taijutsu or ninjutsu that Kakashi saw some other ninja do, he copied. Sometimes so fast that he would be able to fire off that technique at the person using that technique against him, like he did in his battle against Zabuza. Now, those three are the abilities of the Eye of Insight, while the Eye of Hypnotism more has to refer to the genjutsu abilities of the Sharingan. Now, while every single Sharingan has the ability to use the ability Genjutsu Sharingan, those Sharingan abilities are kind of hazy. See, the base genjutsu abilities of the Sharingan are as unique as the individual using them, though the way that the base genjutsu of the Sharingan is usually used is whenever a Sharingan wielder makes eye contact with somebody who isn't a Sharingan wielder, they're able to use a genjutsu on them that forces them to divulge information or act in a specific way against their will, and sometimes without them even noticing. The best example of something like this being done is when people like Madara or Obito use this Sharingan ability on tailed beasts. And in the most extreme circumstances, when somebody is completely under control of the Genjutsu Sharingan, their eyes will also become Sharingan. This is why Kurama's eyes were Sharingan when he was destroying the village on Naruto's birthday. So those are basically all the base abilities of a Sharingan, not an MS. Well, obviously an MS can introduce two individual new abilities to each eye and the Susanoo. That is not only rare, but also incredibly individualistic and based off the personality of the person who manifests them. So with all of the rules and abilities of the Sharingan now in plain view, let's get into the meat of today's video, talking about which aspect of the Sharingan each wielder of the Sharingan is best at. And there's really no good place to start, so I'm just gonna start with Genjutsu. That is to say, which wielder of the Sharingan was best at the Genjutsu aspect of having a Sharingan. And this is actually surprisingly tough to answer. See, because when you think about Sharingan and Genjutsu, the way your brain usually goes is directly to Shisui, right? And while that wouldn't be a bad answer, in fact, it's probably the correct answer, almost every other wielder of the Sharingan has shown incredible Genjutsu feats. Like when it comes to just the base form Genjutsu Sharingan, the answer for greatest Genjutsu user is probably Madara, as Madara was shown not only being able to control Kurama with his Genjutsu, but also all of the tailed beasts to a minor degree, and simultaneously, mind you. Putting Kurama under Genjutsu isn't a feat that only Madara has ever pulled off, because Obito also did it. On top of that, Obito is also responsible for using a Kodowa Matsukame-like Genjutsu against Yagura, and through the power of this Genjutsu, Obito was able to make Yagura a bloodthirsty dictator for the majority of his rule as the 4th Mizukage. And the power of this Genjutsu was so similar, it led Tsunade to believe that Obito might be related to Shisui in some capacity. Well, it led her to believe that the Genjutsu used on Yagura was related to the Kodowa Matsukame in some capacity. And therefore, people like Obito have not only placed people like Kurama under Genjutsu with the base form of the Sharingan, but also have shown Genjutsu-like abilities comparable to the strongest Genjutsu in all of Naruto, Kodowa Matsukame. However, in circumstances such as these, it's usually best to go with your gut, because when you're talking about the strongest ever user of Genjutsu from the Sharingan, the right answer is unfortunately probably Shisui, though you could very easily throw people like Itachi in here because Tsukiyomi was repeatable, unlike Kodowa Matsukame. Well, Kodowa Matsukame is repeatable, but not nearly as repeatable as Tsukiyomi.